Hermione, we need to be more cautious here when we're using time travel. I don't know. What do you think about that? Like, what do you think about the subject of divination? This situation with Hagrid is exactly, it makes me so uncomfortable. Okay, I did it. It's done. Hi, you guys, and welcome back to Muggles and Mocha. I want to start by saying that I really hope that you enjoyed the Chapter 5 article and video. I'll plug that up here. It was a hard article to write, and I worked super hard on it. So I hope that you guys enjoyed it because it was a labor of love, and I thought it was just such an interesting topic, you know, thinking about Dementors, where they came from, and what they were inspired by. If you're new around here, welcome to our Harry Potter book club, Muggles and Mocha. It's connected to my editing website, MadisonKdarby.com, and I post both videos and articles for each chapter of the Harry Potter books. We're currently in Prisoner of Azkaban, so feel free to subscribe to this channel, give this video a like if you enjoy it, and you can keep up to date with all of our Harry Potter ramblings. You can also follow me on social media through the links below. And guys, I don't know if you noticed last week, but I am ashamed because I forgot the rant stick. And there was many a rant last week. If you're new to the channel, this is a wand that chose me at Harry Potter World, so it's official, I guess. I have a special drink for today. Today, in honor of, you know, our introduction to Professor Trelawney, the subject of divination and tea leaves, I have some tea, and at the end of this video, surely I'll be done with this. I mean, it's a very small cup, but it's hot. By the end of this video, I am going to look at the tea leaves in the bottom because I did use loose leaf black tea. So surely there will be some left over down here, and I'll guess at what it means. It's actually some English breakfast tea, which is some of my favorite. And I didn't even put milk in it so that we'll be able to see these tea leaves clearly, guys. That's some dedication because I like milk in my tea. This will still be fine. Like, it's yummy, but... So yeah, stay tuned for that. Okay, we are just gonna continue our charge through this book. We're in chapter 6, which is called Talons and Tea Leaves. We got a good picture of Professor Trelawney here. Ooh. Guys, I know I said I could do it without milk, but it is bitter. Okay, let's jump into it. We start off on the first day of classes, and Malfoy being the worst, which, you know, this is not news to us. And we actually get hints about Hermione's schedule here. Ron looks at it and he sees that she has classes like scheduled at multiple times. And like, I know she's got to keep track of this because it's important. And, you know, of all years, this would be the hardest year for her to keep track of all of these classes because they are happening at the same time. But like, I don't know. Maybe she just thinks that Harry and Ron are idiots and like wouldn't figure out that something was up. But why is your schedule just out for people to see? I mean, I know that like Ron takes it from her, but I would hide that thing. That is just a sure sign that something suspicious is going on. And she didn't even make it past the first day of classes. Like, someone saw the schedule immediately with like 3 classes at 9 o'clock. Hermione, we need to be more cautious here when we're using time travel. I do have a time turner, which is kind of exciting. But for the life of me, I cannot think of where it is. I got it for Christmas when I was younger. I believe that it's at my parents' house. I was so proud of that. So yeah, I'm excited to talk more about the time turner and the subject of time travel because it's very interesting with the way that it relates to the Harry Potter universe. I don't want to get into it too much now, but that's going to be a fun topic to talk about when the time comes. Okay, so now the group heads to Divination. Their first time going to this class, our first exposure to this subject at Hogwarts. And I got a lot to say about it, okay? Like, there's some things I've been thinking about when it comes to divination. Look, I know about Professor Trelawney and her hiring, like the details of that. It was super kind for Dumbledore to take her on, not only for her safety, but the safety of the wizarding world, because the knowledge that Professor Trelawney had, like if Voldemort was able to get his hands on it, it could have been not good, you know, obviously. So he had to keep Professor Trelawney safe. But I wanted to talk a little bit today about the subject itself and Professor Trelawney as a teacher, and just like what Hogwarts students get out of this subject. So first, I've been doing some research on divination in the Harry Potter universe. And a lot of like sources that I found say that for the subject, a lot of it, especially the way that Trelawney teaches it, is that it is in the blood. Like, you know, even Trelawney says that, and it's not just her being all cocky and confident about her own abilities, even though that is part of it. She's right in saying that some people just have it, you know, like it's in their biology. It is in their blood. And if you don't have that, you're not able to do it effectively. So my thought about this is, I think that divination would be good as far as like a gen ed, which is kind of what Harry and Ron are taking it as now. But like, whether it's Trelawney or someone else who's in the classroom, someone needs to pay attention to these kids and see, hey, do they have it or do they not? Because past this introductory level class, if you don't have the skill, I don't see the point in you taking it anymore. Because I don't know, I just don't get it. Because I get confused, because I think also the way that Professor Trelawney teaches it isn't the way that divination should be taught. Like I know stuff about this issue. Like, you know, she has them reading tea leaves and there's like tarot cards and things like that. And it's strange because it's very like Muggle. Like these are Muggle techniques that we know about in the Muggle world. It doesn't mean that like they can't be magical also, but it just seems really hokey to me when you learn about like what divination actually is and what a seer is. Like, is there any point to them reading these tea leaves? Is it even real by magical standards? Like, McGonagall doesn't seem to think so. And I just am really confused about why students have to take this for multiple years. If one, it's in the blood, two, Trelawney stuff is bogus. I don't know. What do you think about that? Like, what do you think about the subject of divination? Is there anything to it that like if you didn't have it in you, you could learn it? Because that's kind of what I'm getting at here. Now, before we move on, I do want to say, whenever we see Ferenzi teach divination, even though he himself as a teacher, like, he's kind of, you know, looking at humans like there's never a way that you could get it, so, you know, that's not good for learning. But his technique does seem like something you could actually learn. Like, it's based off the planets and things that you can actually look at and that seem to be based in some form of divination that works for the centaurs, even though, you know, it's a really wide scope, like a broad view. Like, they can see things that maybe are going to happen in like 100 years, but they can't zone in like, you know, Trelawney claims to. It's a different type of divination. I think that seems a little more realistic. I know we're talking about Harry Potter, but, you know, humor me. Realistic than what Trelawney is doing. And it seems like the teachers think that too. Like, they don't even think it's real. I just don't get it. I don't understand why this is required past the first year. And you know, this brings me back to another subject with Trelawney. As I have said in this rant, you know, a lot of times I get confused when I'm talking about this because it's hard to separate what is the issues with the subject and the issues with Trelawney and the way that she's teaching it. And again, this is another situation where Dumbledore's hiring? Like, what if divination is legit in the wizarding world and, you know, the things that Trelawney's trying to teach them is something they could actually use and she's just not teaching it in a good way? That means her being hired has just like messed up years, over a decade of students who might have actually done something with divination that could have affected their life. And I'm not saying that Dumbledore should not have brought Trelawney in. Like, I see that, like, you know, having to protect her obviously was high priority. But just hire another divination teacher too or something. Like, get some of the students the education they deserve. I do not like divination or how it's portrayed in these books. And that's not like really on Rowling. It's just, I don't like the way Hogwarts handles it, I guess is what it comes down to. Anyway, moving on. They're in divination and they meet Trelawney. And in this first class, they're going to be drinking tea, which y'all, I'm doing really well at this. We haven't been going for very long and I've drunk half of this cup. I see some tea leaves in the bottom. So we're on the way to finding out what my cup means. They are looking at tea leaves. And I have something to say about the third Harry Potter book with this. I'm gonna insert a picture here that shows Harry's cup once he's finished and everyone talking about the Grim. So here it is. Okay, that cup is disgusting. Is it normal to have that many tea leaves in the bottom of a cup? Because there are a ton, and that just seems like it'd be really gross. We're gonna see mine at the end of this, and we'll see how many tea leaves in here, and I believe that is a normal amount. So the amount that Harry has just looks disgusting. And after Ron is looking at Harry's cup and says that he sees a sheep, you know, Trelawney starts off on her explanation of the cup. And honestly, I'm not gonna lie to you guys. I'm a gullible, naive person. I can accept that about myself. If I was in this class and I was listening to Trelawney say all of this, she sounds impressive. Like, if I was a third-year student listening to her examine this cup, she sounds so sure of herself. She sees these shapes and just like goes with it immediately. I think I would have fallen for it. Hermione is not having it in this class. And honestly, we see a different side of Hermione in this book that I don't think we truly get in the movies. Like, we see her storm out of Trelawney's class, but in this, like, she is a smart aleck to Trelawney basically from the moment that she gets into her class. And from what I remember when she leaves, it's like pretty intense, the stuff that she says. I just think that, and it's not bad, I like it. I just wish we could have gotten more of that flair in the movies, because you got that, you have her fight with Ron through this whole book, which I don't know if I'm looking forward to it, but I remember that basically didn't happen in the movies. But yeah, I feel like Hermione in this book is just a different character than what we see in that third movie. After looking at Harry's cup, Trelawney says that she sees the Grim, which, as we've said, is an omen. Side note, I think Emma Thompson does just such an excellent job with Professor Trelawney. She's hilarious. For this omen, the Grim, people in the wizarding world obviously know it, like it's a scary thing to hear about. And Harry here thinks that he has seen it. And this brings me to my article for today. I've written an article all about the subject of the Grim, how it works in this book series, what it represents, and also a little bit of the actual mythology and inspirations behind this omen. So if that's something you're interested in, you can just click on the link in the description box and let me know what you think. For our video today and what we're gonna talk about when it comes to the Grim, I'm not going to go into all that mythology and stuff. You'll have to click on the article to find that out. But I just love how Rowling works in the Grim here, along with Sirius's animagus form. Like, she does a really good job of building us and Harry up with the idea of the Grim. Like, we become a little afraid of it as well because we don't know what it represents. But what's so cool about it is that later it actually works as a good omen for Harry, of course. You know, that would happen to Harry. But to Harry, it goes on to represent hope. It's when he finds family and, you know, someone he loves who loves him is represented by the Grim. And later in the books, Harry is actually happy when he sees this black dog that he once thought was the Grim, because to him it represents Sirius and the family that he discovered that he never had before. So I think that that's my favorite part of the Grim, just how we start off seeing it in a very negative light, just like the rest of the students at Hogwarts do. But later it becomes just this sign of love for Harry instead, where he searches for it. You know, he looks for the black dog. He's excited when he sees it. And, you know, not to get too sad here, but after Sirius is gone, I think that Harry would have given anything to see that black dog again. Yeah, it's kind of cool how the Grim does a little switcheroo on us in these books. Harry and the gang move on to their next class, which is Transfiguration, and McGonagall explains that Trelawney always predicts a student's death. Which I think that Trelawney, even though she's so annoying at times, she becomes kind of a funny character to me. Actually, I think one of my favorite moments with her is in this book. We'll see, it's around Christmas, where she thinks that, like, either the last person to sit down or the first person to get up is going to be killed by, like, an axeman out in the entrance hall. And I always thought that was just a really funny line. But something that's kind of neat is she actually goes on to be involved in very significant moments for us in these books. You know, you have the prediction in this book all about Sirius and Peter Pettigrew and Voldemort and yada, 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 you know. Then we have the prophecy about Voldemort and Harry, which Harry goes to retrieve in the Order of the Phoenix. And that was just a game changer for her life, Dumbledore's life, Snape's life, a lot of people, Voldemort, Harry, like there's a lot of stuff involved in this prophecy that she gave. And not only is it important that she gave it, but it's also, you know, what frames Harry's shift in perspective in the 5th book when it comes to, you know, neither can live while the other survives. It's his realization moment that, like, either he or Voldemort is gonna die at the end of this, like they're gonna kill each other. And that was spurred on by Professor Trelawney's prediction. And the last moment that she's very, very important in is my least favorite thing that was left out of the movies, y'all. I might have mentioned it before, but it is Harry's realization that Snape is the one that sold out his parents to Voldemort. You know, that he went and reported what he heard of the prophecy to Voldemort, which made Voldemort think that this prophecy was talking about the Potters and, as a result, Harry. And the person he finds that out from is none other than Professor Trelawney, who's walking down the hall with her sherry bottles and just happens to say something to him about it. So yeah, that's a third important moment that Trelawney has a direct influence on. After class, we learn a bit more about the Grim from Ron. I love that purpose that Ron serves in this series. Like, he gives us the insight into what the wizarding world thinks about things, which I think is really interesting, and I like getting that from him. So here we learn a bit more about what the wizarding world as a whole thinks of the Grim. The last major event in this chapter is Hagrid's first class, which is so sad. Y'all, there are certain situations I don't like, and it's when someone is like trying really hard at something, and it's something that they really care about, and they've put a lot of time and energy into it, and people treat them badly and make it go wrong. I know that sounds pretty vague, but this situation with Hagrid is exactly, it makes me so uncomfortable that Hagrid put so much love and effort into this class, and then Malfoy to like make fun of his book the way he does, and then, you know, what happens in the rest of the class, it just, oh man, I hate reading stuff like that. So this is one of my like least favorite parts of this book. This first class is about hippogriffs. We get introduced to Buckbeak. I really like Buckbeak. I love hippogriffs. They were so interesting to me when I was a kid. But something else that's really cool about Buckbeak specifically is that he goes on to parallel Sirius's experiences throughout the series. You know, in this book we see, while we're learning about Sirius Black, we see another criminal who is pretty much wrongly accused of an action. Then he escapes, but is destined to live his life on the run pretty much from here on. Is locked in a house. I mean, there's a lot of similarities between Sirius and Buckbeak here that I think is really cool. And then they end up running off together in the end and seeing freedom together. But then, like, what does that freedom really mean? Like, is Sirius ever really free for the rest of his life until he dies in Order of the Phoenix? Like, he never really tastes actual freedom again. And of course we get dark here. I didn't mean for it to go in this direction. In this class, Harry rides Buckbeak. It's not as long of a montage as it is in the movie. Malfoy insults Buckbeak. It ends badly. And Hagrid is super upset, of course. We end with Hagrid having an outburst about Harry being out of the castle, which is just more science for us about the seriousness of seriousness. Oh God. But yeah, it clues us in for the seriousness of the situation that Harry is in. So with that, I'm gonna read the last paragraph, but I'll tell you, it has some lines from Hagrid, and I am not doing a Hagrid accent because I'm embarrassed and I'm not good at those things, so you get what you get. Hagrid stopped dead, staring at Harry as though he'd only just realized he was there. "What do you think you're doing, eh?" he roared so suddenly that they jumped a foot in the air. "You're not to go wandering around after dark, Harry. And you two, letting him." Hagrid strode over to Harry, grabbed his arm, and pulled him to the door. "Come on," Hagrid said angrily. "I'm taking you all back up to school, and don't let me catch you walking down to see me after dark again. I'm not worth that." So we end this little moment of Harry, Ron, and Hermione trying to comfort Hagrid with Hagrid getting upset. And you know what? This was a really big chapter. A lot happened. We had our introduction to Divination, introduction to Buckbeak and what's going to happen there, a lot more information about the Grimm. Like, it was a full chapter, and I hope you enjoyed our video about it today. Next week, we have our first Defense Against the Dark Arts class, which I'm so excited. It has been forever since I have read this book, like I've said, and I'm just eager to see, you know, what happened in the book. It's been so long that I can't really remember all the details of what happened in this first class, but I know it was more than the movie. We're going to be covering Chapter 7, The Boggart in the Wardrobe, and we got this nice little picture of a mummy coming out of the wardrobe. Okay, I did it. It's done. Unfortunately, I did have to leave like a little bit of liquid in there, so that, you know, I didn't drink the tea leaves. I will start by saying that there are not nearly as many leaves in here as were in Harry's cup in the movie. I'm gonna take a picture of them and put them in the video. Okay, let's see what we can see in the tea leaves in my cup. Okay, y'all, I have stared and stared at this cup. And what I can see is it looks like a crescent moon to me. Maybe like a crescent moon with a cloud. Okay, guys, I am currently on a website called Tea Association of the USA. And I typed in, oh wow, there's so much about tea leaves on here. It looks like I did it wrong, guys. Maybe that's why Harry had so many tea leaves in his cup, because you don't strain them, you just pour boiling water over them and then drink it. That's disgusting. Okay, I'm still gonna stick with it. I'm gonna go with what's in my cup here. I think it looks like a crescent moon, maybe with a cloud. Here it says that for any heavenly body, sun, moon, star, it's good luck, great happiness, and success. Yay! So apparently by my tea leaves, I am gonna have great happiness and good luck and success. Does that mean like just until I drink another cup of tea? Okay, that is all we have for today's video. What an adventure. Again, don't forget about our article below. It's all about the Grimm and a lot of interesting stuff in there. So I hope that you like it. Okay, I will see you guys next time to talk about Chapter 7. And until then, good fortune, good tea leaves. I'll see you next time. Bye.